Hello again, everybody, and welcome into the Take the North podcast, along with Dan Wiederer of the Chicago Tribune and contributor to The Score. I am Mark Grote of Chicago Sports Radio 670 The Score. Dan, first padded practice of 2025. It's one of the big deal moments of the entire offseason program and training camp portion of our lives.
Teaser. Tuesday will be more important. The Bears were in pads for the first time on Monday, but a lot of what they did was abbreviated. I think there is some sports science to this and some restrictions to this. Even some of the 11-11 work looked like it was at about 2/3 speed and by design. So I think that the intensity that we're used to when the pads come on, we'll really get our first taste of it at its height on Tuesday. But there's still plenty to talk about out here, so I don't want to downplay it overly. But it wasn't as eventful as one might think here on Monday.
Honestly, Dan, even when they do, I mean, really in these training camps, and again, I've been doing the training camp since 2018, and there's usually only what feels like one or two periods altogether where they really hit, where they're really sort of like putting caution to the side. The rest of it, even on days that we tell you that they're out here full pads and hitting, there's a little word called thud that often gets put into play. So quite frankly, it's always a little disappointing. Better than no pads, but always a little disappointing in terms of what they don't do at these training.
Yeah, this isn't the old days where they do live tackling, much if at all. And so really, honestly, where the pads make a difference is when you have one-on-one pass rush drills and you've got backs against linebackers and offensive linemen against defensive linemen, and you get to see those guys work in full pads and have really no restrictions, and then you get to get a little bit better feel for how those parts of things are coming together. We did get some one-on-ones. That's always a portion of camp that starts to heat up, and you in those drills you're looking for the oohs and ahs from the crowd, whether it be long passes or something that occurs like again in a pass rush situation that leaves everybody with their jaws on the floor, but nothing real seismic on Monday morning at Haugh.
Well, let's make this clear. First of all, Dan is at Haugh as we record this podcast here on a Monday. I, Mark Grote, I'm back in the Score studios. I was doing some hosting duties, so I was not out at Haugh today. But I do know that Luther Burden was back out there. So how did the Bears' second-round rookie receiver look? What did you see? Tell us everything about this man of mystery, Luther Burden.
Well, first and foremost, we saw 87 in a practice jersey behind the field as practice started. And you're like, okay, this is for real now. Luther Burden's getting back on the practice field. He went through the stretch, did the individual period with the receivers. And to be honest with you, he looked pretty sharp in terms of his movement. Did not look like a guy that was battling something soft tissue related that would really hinder him at all. So he looked good in the individual drills. And then from there, he kind of went off on his own and presumably continued what will be a ramp-up period this week as he gets ready to play football at full speed for a long time. And so he wasn't in with the 7-on-7s, wasn't in on the one-on-one drills, wasn't in on any of the 11-on-11 stuff. But his mere presence on the practice field is notable, and for what we saw today, it was encouraging.
I don't like the relative bumpiness that it has taken to get to this point with Luther Burden the third, and some of it obviously out of the control of the player, and it's understandable and all of that kind of stuff. But now it's like, okay, he's here, deep breath, good, because he's such an important part of this. And I don't think, while he has lost out on critical time in the offseason program, I guess, Dan, I will take this as long as things are straight up as we go forward with Luther Burden. I think it's all good now, and you just begin his rookie campaign right at this very moment.
Yeah, you try to. And I will say this, though, about this coaching staff is they're not handing anything to anyone, right? And so I think that Luther Burden's going to have to earn whatever role he wants in this offense. And when you have a guy like Olamide Zaccheaus, who's coming to camp and really, really shown in flashes here that he can be reliable as that WR3 for the Bears, there's going to be a challenge and a little bit of a steep climb for Luther Burden to kind of make his way up into the coach's favor and to earn that trust. Remember, at the end of the spring, that was something that Ben Johnson really, really emphasized, was not only are you missing out on time to be on the field, learning all the things that you need to learn, but you need to earn trust from the coaches and the players around you. And so that's part of the process here for Luther Burden that he'll have to adhere to.
They do, and look, they obviously him being a draft pick, a high draft pick, they want him to do well. They want to put draft picks are always going to get the benefit of the doubt, especially those guys, and they want him to compete with DJ Moore. They want him to compete with Roma Dunze. I mean, they want him to be whatever he can be. So it's going to be interesting, and that part has still yet to come, and that is how Ben Johnson makes all of this work, all of this known talent and the unknown talent of the guys that haven't played yet. One of those guys would be the Bears' first-round pick this year, Colston Loveland, the Bears' rookie tight end. What did you see from Mr. Loveland today, who was on the practice field?
Yeah, the last couple of practices, he's passing the eye test with his movement skills. We knew what the Bears advertised him to be in terms of a guy that could really move well, show off his athleticism, create separation, and then ultimately be a very friendly pass catcher for his quarterbacks. And Colston Loveland has shown that in flashes here as he works back into the mix. He's out there today doing a lot more than he's done previously. One catch in particular, climbed the ladder to go get a ball that was a little bit high, made it look easy, and that's what you're looking for in a guy that is going to be somebody that the Bears hope can be very friendly for their quarterback, Caleb Williams in particular. And so you love to see that sort of rapport starting to build, and you love to see your first round picks showing you signs of why you drafted them in the first round, much less obviously a top 10 pick like Loveland.
Yeah, man, it's so important that he's out there and that he is back, and that to some degree we could look at him and say, yes, there are good things that are starting to happen with him, just knowing the importance of him. What did you think, by the way? And by the way, in this podcast, we have not said the words Caleb Williams as of yet, but we're going to do a whole segment on the Bears QB1, so don't panic. We're going to get to offensive line, and then there is a key injury that we're going to get to as well. I continued to wonder about Cole Kmet, like relative to Colston Loveland, and it could just be perfect. It could be just two really good tight ends, or like ideally, or in theory, Colston Loveland is going to be that guy, considering where he was drafted. But Cole Kmet could be a compliment, or Cole Kmet could be competing for playing big time playing time with him. What do you think? What do you think about Cole Kmet and his tone and how he is going about this season? And I mean, ideally, it's Colston Loveland's game, and boy, does Kmet all of a sudden takes a weird back seat.
Well, look, it's up to Ben Johnson to figure out how to utilize them both. There's no point in having them both on the roster if you're not going to find a way to make them dynamic together. And so that sort of blending process is ongoing. The coaching staff right now needs to see what each of them does really, really well, and then adapt their offensive scheme around it. You've heard Cole say, look, like in some ways we're going to be complements to one another. In some ways we're going to be competitors to one another for roles and balls that need to be caught in this offense. We're going to have to fight to earn the nod of approval from the coaching staff to be part of that. So, look, I think Cole's going to be the same guy he's been since he got here. He's a guy who attacks every day with purpose, and ultimately is striving to go to levels here in Chicago that he hasn't been able to go to yet, with a team that can win more consistently, with an ability to produce in a way that helps them do that. And again, so I think this all kind of ultimately circles back to Ben and kind of the vision he crystallizes here in August to figure out, what do we want to do with our tight ends? How do we want to use them individually? How do we want to use them together? That's why Ben Johnson's here. They paid him a lot of money and gave him a lot of power to come in here and play a lot of chess, and this is part of the chess that he's going to have to play with these two tight ends. I think as we get deeper into the preseason, probably through the joint practices, we'll start to feel it out a little bit more about how these guys are operating in tandem, and then we'll have a better sense of how it sets up for the regular season.
On this padded practice Monday for the Bears, what was the left tackle lineup?
Yeah, so look, like it's been really good the last few days to see Braxton Jones mixing in more. Ozzie Trapillo took the first set of snaps with the ones today. We have had Amagaji in there. Since we did our last episode, there's been some reshuffling on the offensive line just by necessity. They gave Darnell Wright a rest day on Saturday. He was back on Monday while he was resting. Theo Benedict was taking first team snaps at the right tackle position. You had Karan Amagaji get hurt for a little bit on Saturday, walked off the practice field with a little bit of a limp. He was back today, didn't show any signs that he was still hurt. Our guy, Doug Kramer, he was out today with a left leg injury that he suffered toward the end of Saturday's practice. I'm trying to think if there was a Bill Murray left today's practice with something. So we're at that time of the year now, and now the pads come on, Grote, and you know that those injuries will start to add up. I think this coaching staff is going to have to put their foot on the accelerator and trying to solve this left tackle situation sooner rather than later. And even listening to Joe Tooney over the weekend, like he wants to know, who am I working with to my left, and what does that mean for me as I try to develop sort of a chemistry in how I move, with the guy that's next to me and how we do that well as a pair. So that's going to be fun here in the next stretch here. Really it look like the Dolphins are coming next week, which is hard to believe. You kind of look at your calendar for a while and you're like, oh, that's a long ways off. And then you're like, oh no, they're going to be here next week. And so some of these practices that are more intense here in the next couple of days will give us some clarity. And the coaching staff, I think, has got to really keep their eyes with some urgency on that left tackle position, because what Ryan Poles told us in the offseason, that they would much rather have that solidified sooner rather than later and not be playing this guessing game all the way up to the starting block of the regular season.
Man, then doesn't it, if they are going to follow through with that and name somebody soon, I don't know what sooner than later means. If they're really going into that, does it have to be Braxton Jones then? Because if they're going to sort of push into this, like almost rush into it, will they have seen enough Ozzy Trapillo, though, with pads on and doing actual blocking to be like, yes, in this year in which we completely overhauled our interior, a year in which you have to win or be much better, you're just going to put the rookie in at left tackle with barely any full padded physical practices? I mean,
well, he's going to have to show that he can handle it. But I would also tell you this, that while the coaching staff has plenty of film on Braxton Jones from the last 3 years, they also have not ever watched him after having his ankle reconstructed after a fracture. They asked him in the offseason to put on strength to be able to anchor better against bull rushes while simultaneously coming back from a bad ankle injury. And that's a challenge that, that's big. And so Braxton, I think, like it would be, I guess, imprudent to look at his best tape from the last 3 years and go, that's the Braxton Jones we're getting, without putting your naked eyes on him now and saying, what does he look like now that he's coming back from this injury, and how can he handle some of the things we're asking him to do? And so that, I think, is all part of this process. And that's why it's good that the pads are on. And I imagine that you're going to be side by side with me on Tuesday when we get those O-line versus D-line one-on-ones, and we'll train in on those guys and see what they look like when they've got full speed, high intensity rushers coming at.
You think he's going to be Trapillo, don't you? I mean,
I just think it makes the most sense. Now, look, as a rookie, you've got to answer questions, though. You do have to answer questions, and you've got to show that you're up to this task. And there's going to be days where I think for Ozzy, his head spins a little bit, and it's like, well, this is a lot, and the speed of the game is different than anything I'm used to. And so that's part of the judgment that this coaching staff is going to have to make as well. But that was premium draft capital spent on a guy that you would hope could become a starter for you sooner rather than later. And so I think that if you're doing this right, the push would be to try to get him ready to start. But you can't lie to yourself either if you judge that he's not ready to start.
Yeah. Well, it'd be interesting. I mean, of course, in a ideal world, you would want your second round rookie to be the guy and to be your future and all of that. On the other side of the line, oh man, I did not want to see this from your Chicago Tribune colleague Brad Biggs on Shemar Turner, that he has an ankle injury. Out 4 weeks is the estimate, Dan. I mean, all I could say about that, we talked about this on the radio a little bit today, and my reaction was, that blows. It just sucks. This doesn't destroy the Bears defense. It just sucks when a second round defensive lineman with the promise that Turner has, and your need to improve that D line, and he's going to miss a month. It just sucks. It blows.
It's a setback, and it's a high energy guy who obviously a lot of people are rooting for because of what he brings to the table in terms of his violent playing style and his charisma and sort of the juice that he brings to the field. I'll remind you that Shemar Turner dealt with a stress fracture last year at Texas A&M, and it's something he played through and then had to kind of get himself over the hump on during the pre-draft process. And so you had a guy that was injured, and now a guy who's injured again. And we've seen these stories too many times here in this building where you just kind of hold your breath and go, oh, please don't let this be just an oft injured can't ever really be at full strength type of guy. And so now again, like that ankle injury happened in practice last week. And I think they were hoping for the best. And now you get the word from Brad that, we're talking about a month, and it's not just a month. It's this month, right? It's August, it's training camp. It's the process of earning roles and trying to establish yourself as a guy that can be part of that wave of front four guys that they want to send through there. We'll see when they come back. We'll hear from Ben Johnson before practice on Tuesday. And hopefully that they've got some plans in the interim to help make up for that setback.
Yeah, it's a setback for any rookie, a highly drafted rookie, and just the fact too that Shemar Turner is a guy that is moving from, and he was moved. This move happened at Texas A&M, but he was moved from the outside to the inside. So you want to continue to see him getting those reps on the inside where he's still learning, let alone at the NFL level. So that's why that really kind of bugs me. That he's out, and just one of those guys that I really wanted to see what he could do in this training camp.
Yeah, we joked because of his enthusiasm that he was going to have a good camp, right? Like that was our little joke of like he's going to have a good camp, and now he's not going to have any camp really because it's going to be a while before he's able to get back out there, and this would push obviously past the preseason finale, and then you're just kind of getting ready in real time, and you don't have all those reps, all those competitive reps that you would like to have in your rookie training camp to get ready for what the big stage has to offer in the regular season.
Was my guy Zay Frazier back out there? What else we got?
No, sir. Zay Frazier still out for personal reasons. We'll wait for another update on that. Have not seen Jalen Johnson beside the practice field at all.
Right.
I just note that just because it's like, okay, why? Do they just want him off his feet because this leg injury is something that they don't want him standing? But, more often than not, you see injured players come out periodically. They can rehab inside the building, then come out for a team period, make their presence felt. But they haven't really laid eyes on Jalen Johnson since camp began. Another injury today. Tano Pasano? Is that do we Pasano? Pasano.
Yeah, Pasano. Yeah, I had the phonetic spelling. Good job. You took a shot at it. Thank you. Pasano? I appreciate it. Yeah.
He left practice today. Rode a cart off with the trainer. It looked to be a wrist injury of some sort. We'll try to get an update on that on Tuesday as well. It's another defensive line piece. So you're talking about a guy that also was trying to earn a role in that wave of guys up front off the edge, and we'll wait for an update there.
Okay. And just to clarify too, Dan saying that we haven't seen Jalen Johnson. To be clear, they did say that Jalen Johnson is in the building, but you're just saying that you haven't seen him out on the actual practice field.
They haven't laid eyes on him while we've been out beside the practice field.
Right. And as Dan said, oftentimes players they're out there with the team. Now, this is a 6-year veteran, so maybe he has earned the right to not have to stand out in the sunshine of Hallis Hall and of training camp, and maybe that's what the Bears would prefer him to do. That's very, very plausible. All right, how did quarterback one look today, Mr. Caleb Williams? And I have been told that you guys did not have the greatest vantage point in the world today in terms of seeing every little tiny minutia. But what did you see, Dan, from Caleb Williams on this Monday?
Yeah, not a great view today from behind field 3 where we were seated. Again, it was not as eventful of a practice one way or the other as we've had here in the first week of practice for Caleb. So I will tell you the best throw of the day I saw was a deep ball during one-on-ones from Caleb to DJ Moore. Tyreek Stevenson sticky in coverage, and DJ brought it in on a perfectly thrown ball. That was over on field 4. That was pretty. There were some moments in the one-on-ones where Caleb definitely was not synced up with his receivers. You want to see that come along as camp moves on. And then, like I say, some of the 7-on-7, 11-on-11 stuff appeared to be by design like 2/3 speed. So it was hard to fully judge what was happening there. I will say this, and I know you spent 4 hours on the radio today. The conversation around the progress reports, the breathless progress reports every single day that, occur on social media, that occur out in the public forum, they're exhausting. And I don't know, judging by some of the conversation that occurs on social media, that Chicago can handle this again. I mean, you tell me what you think as we launch into a little deeper discussion on Caleb about how are we gonna make it through an entire month of August with this kind of, supercharged conversation about what every single pass of every single day is supposed to mean.
Right. And how I think reporters, and sometimes I have to think about the way I word things or say things, like we all are having to be a little careful with how we speak about Caleb Williams because of how divisive it is met, whether positive or negative, it seems like. So I'll say a couple of things here, Dan. I think it's possible that Caleb Williams is, at this point, the most divisive quarterback in Bears history. And because of the fact that the predecessor, Justin Fields, and I know nobody's pining for Justin Fields anymore.
I don't know if that's true either, because I still hear from that crowd every once in a while.
Well, I think that crowd is out there. They just don't invoke his name as much. But part of the problem is, for, in air quotes, the problem for Caleb Williams is it's a very unique circumstance in Chicago when the previous quarterback leaves town, but is still pretty popular. That's what happened. That's a unique situation, which complicates things for Caleb Williams, not only because of that, but because he's a number 1 overall pick, and because the fan base, and I get it, man. There are Bears fans, Dan, that are scared to death of the possibility of Caleb Williams not being everything that we have talked about him potentially being. That this is destruction from in a sports concept to a lot of these fans, and so that's why they get so angry, and why people just don't want to even hear any of the negative, and the excuses come, and it's early comes, and it's a new offense, and all of that. It's a very complicated spot that we're in right now with this quarterback.
So there's a couple paths and forks in the road that we can take there. One of them for me is just kind of like, what is the timeline or the deadline that this coaching staff has for Caleb Williams to emerge into the player that they think he should be, right? Because there's a difference between having a deadline of week 5 and having a deadline of at the end of 2026, right? Like, and understanding the long view of, like, ultimately we hope this guy is a second contract quarterback who can be our engine of playoff runs year after year after year after year. And so if we view everything through that lens, how much forgiveness and patience are we willing to give him that the outside world isn't going to give him? Because I can tell you right now that the outside world's not going to afford the patience. That's the fan base, that's the national media, that's everybody else that has to breathlessly weigh in on every single day of practice. And so that's where this conversation gets a little bit more difficult, because Ben Johnson and his staff have to decide that. What's that deadline? And there's a lot that folds into that. And I think they've been really, really candid and forthright here in the first few weeks of camp. That's Declan Doyle, of telling you about some of the things that they're not thrilled with, some of the things that they recognize as inevitable expected growing pains, and then just kind of separating those types of things as kind of a daily process that they're going to do inside the building, and we're going to have to try to help do, in the positions that we're in, to help people understand what's happening out here. And so we can get a little bit more into that, but I'm just curious for you, like, how do you set a deadline for when Caleb needs to fulfill some of the promise that we know he has?
That's a great question, and that's everything. It really is. I mean, that is, like, we don't know how much time. Does Ben Johnson get the sort of first-year head coach pass? You know what I mean? Is this, and nobody is going to utter it, and they shouldn't. Is this like their own little, not rebuild, but reset, a quarterback, a coaching staff, philosophical reset? And hey, maybe they will win 10 games in a reset season, but maybe they won't. My guess is that's what it is, that Ben Johnson, there will be leeway this year, even though they have talked up a big, show about getting out there, and it's a race to the first preseason game. It's a race to opening the season. So I think there's a certain expectation, but I believe that there has been some leeway given. And Dan, I'll just add to this. As far as Caleb Williams is concerned, and like how things have gone so far, is it fair to say that he has not looked good, but it's okay, or it's understandable because new coach, because new system, because progress retarded from last year's staff, right? Because those are the fact is he has looked wobbly out on the field, and people even take exception to that oftentimes.
So this is what I would say, because this is where I think it gets complicated and overly complicated for the outside audience who doesn't really have time to spend dissecting case-by-case errors, right?
Right.
Like, when you look at things, there's a real knee-jerk urge by people who want to believe that Caleb Williams is the no-doubt answer for this franchise for the next 15 years to say every mistake he makes is because A, it's training camp. B, it's a new system. C,
Right.
the coaches are telling him to take chances and test things out so he can learn what
Right.
he can and can't get away with. We heard these same things with Justin Fields. I vividly remember being on the airwaves of 670 The Score from the crossover practices in Indianapolis a couple years ago, and having a host tell me, look, like Justin's throwing interceptions in camp because the coaches want him to test things out. And they've told you they want to test things out. And I said, just wait. Later this in the afternoon, the Indianapolis Colts are going to put a little thing on their social media feed highlighting EJ Speed's interception. And you tell me whether Matt Eberflus and his staff want Justin Fields to jump off 2 feet in the middle of a cluttered pocket and throw a hook shot pass over the middle that the other team's linebacker can catch. Is that something that they want him to test out, or is that just a terrible mistake by the quarterback? And so that's why I think every one of these mistakes needs to be kind of drilled in on to figure out why it happened. And I think this coaching staff is really good at doing that. You were out here the other day when Caleb threw back-to-back interceptions during a 7-on-7 red zone period, right? And Ben was kind enough the next morning to detail both of them, right? Like the first one is a shot to the goal line, a fastball to DJ Moore, where admittedly DJ did not get the separation that he should have gotten on that play. Terrell Smith gets his hand on the ball, ricochets up in the air, Quan Brisker picks it off. But Ben was quick to tell you that even though DJ didn't get the separation that he should have, Caleb needs to recognize that he doesn't have the separation he should have and move on to the next read and go there. The very next play, he tries to fit a ball on a little crossing play across the back of the end zone to Rome Odunze, who's coming right to left, and he doesn't put the loft on it that he needs to, and TJ Edwards jumps up and picks it off. And the coach tells you, look, like that ball in the red zone has to be an us or nobody throw, right? And you cannot give a linebacker a chance to leap up and pick that off. And so these are things that they're going to coach in the meeting rooms. And these are errors that they're okay if they happen once, but if they happen 2, 3, 4 times, now we start to have problems. And this is just one little example of turnovers in a red zone period has nothing to do with, as we talked about last week, getting tossed out of a 7-on-7 drill for not being able to get the play called properly and the offense aligned correctly. There was a handful of botched center quarterback exchanges throughout the first week of practice that Ben Johnson called high school Harry stuff. Right?
I love that.
The head coach is not afraid to tell you not acceptable. We have a championship standard that doesn't meet it. We got to get that cleaned up. High school Harry stuff is not something they're going to tolerate here. And so I guess this is a long-winded way of saying they're not just going to forgive every mistake Caleb makes because, it's just training camp. It's a new system. Like every single instance has to be microanalyzed in a way that the quarterback understands what's being asked of him and how he is not meeting those expectations when he's not meeting those.
Didn't high school Harry make a couple of appearances under Matt Nagy? Didn't he utter?
Did he say that too?
I thought he did. I'm not.
I don't know, but that'd be great. Like maybe we could get this be another one to add to Adam Studzinski's to-do list. Maybe we get high school Harry on the pod at some point before the end of the season.
Like high school Harry's just a mess, but he's very confident. He is a very confident man. He's good looking. He's tall. He's got
easy to book, right? Like easy guest to book.
Yeah, easy guess to book, but he's just a disaster.
Stud's got Aaron Rodgers from his darkness retreat once. High school Harry should be an easy get.
Oh, no doubt. Speaking of Adam Studzinski, our producer decided to take a week off to, how dare he go on a bachelor party. How cliche is this guy? He goes to Las Vegas for his bachelor party, and he's back. As far as we know, he has all of his teeth are in. He's alive. It looks like he was healthy. But there he is.
Yeah, what's up, guys?
Oh, sorry. Were we bothering you? Were you napping? What's going on? Where are you?
No. I didn't know when you guys wanted me to pop.
I was waiting.
Here,
I was doing a tap dance there. Get in here, Studzinski.
Okay. Yeah. Well, hey, you know what? Real quick, we almost never get to do this. This is not a Bears breaking news story, but there is major Chicago breaking news story.
What?
The Cubs have extended president of baseball operations Jed Hoyer to a multiple year contract.
Wow.
So Jed Hoyer's not going anywhere. Yeah.
Wow.
So I just wanted to let you guys know that.
I mean, just real quick.
I mean, by the Brewers.
Jed Hoyer is Jed Hoyer is a baller, man. I mean, it was kind of a do or die season for him, and he's put together a hell of a team and has earned himself an extension. I think that he deserved it, and that's not necessarily something I was saying in the beginning of this offseason, but he's proved something to me. So back to Bears. Oh, no, back to Las Vegas.
Yeah, he went on a scouting trip.
Dan, any thoughts before we move on?
Take that, Locked On
Yeah,
Cubs.
I actually, so like, I don't want to forget this part because like one of the funniest things was this was the very end of the trip. We're getting on the plane coming back on Sunday, and I'm walking through and I see a guy in a Bears hat, and I was also wearing a Bears hat. And I said, as I'm walking by, I'm like, hey, go Bears. And I noticed he's wearing a Bears hat, a Bears shirt, Bears shorts, and I'm like, does he work for the Bears? And like, I actually like had a thought. I was like, I wonder if he works for the Bears. And then I realized I'm like, well, I'm also wearing a Bears hat and Bears shorts, so it's not exactly uncommon.
And then he finally realized that he was looking directly into a mirror.
Yeah.
Did you guys embrace each other? Looking deeply into each other's eyes.
He gave me like a little fist pound. Yeah, I said, go Bears. He's like, hey, you too, man. And that was it. Never talked to him again.
He said, take the North. It's on Odyssey or wherever you get your podcast.
Spread the word.
He might already listen. Like he was dressed out, man. Anyway, yeah, Vegas was a blast. Like you guys said, extremely stereotypical, and I know that. I didn't actually think it would happen, but more people than I thought were able to do it. So I was like, oh, let's just do it then. Anyway,
no, it's cool.
So yeah, it wasn't a full week. We were there Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. So we got in Thursday, left Sunday, and shout out to Robbie Triano for filling in on me for the episode you guys did late last week. No, he did a great job. And anyway, we had so much fun. Like, but the trip, it was interesting. The trip kind of started ominous because there was 8 of us that were supposed to go. About a week before we left, one of my friends had to drop out. And then literally the day we got there, another one of my friends had to drop out. So we were down to 6 people from the original 8 by the time we got there. And then my best man, who's flying in from Denver, his flight got pushed back like 6 hours. So he got in so much later than than was originally planned. So we were like, okay, like we're a little behind, guys, but we're good. And then within an hour of my best man being there, he put $100 for me into a roulette machine, and within 5 minutes we hit a $500 bet.
Nice.
And so I was immediately like, he's like, dude, you keep that, that's yours. And so I was immediately up for the whole trip. So that was a lot of fun. And then Friday, we took a limo we were staying at Circa, which is on Fremont Street, so Old Vegas, because it's so cool. And so there's a cigar lounge at Caesars on the Strip that I wanted to check out. So we took a limo to Caesars. And first of all, Caesars is huge. It is the biggest casino. Like, it's so massive. If you just want to go and walk around sometime, it's crazy big. And then we were trying to find a poker table, and there were these signs that, and keep in mind, we've had a few drinks at this point. So we're walking around Caesars, and these signs are not pointing to where the poker table is. Like, we're just like this, like, are we taking crazy pills, or are these signs not pointing in the right direction? So we asked 3 different people who were trying to guide us down these hallways that just kept winding. And so finally we're like, we're just going to walk until we find it. And we eventually ran into it and played poker for a bit. That was fun. We checked out the pool. That was fun. Friday night, we got dinner at the steakhouse in Circa, which was awesome. They have this lobster mac and cheese that was like the craziest good thing you're ever going to have. Like, it was awesome. And then we, Friday night, what did we get into Friday night?
Just hit the highlights.
We did something.
Yeah,
I think we were like out. We were out on Fremont. We were out on Fremont Street, just getting drinks and whatnot. And then Saturday we went to the pool at Circa, which is Stadium Swim, which is like literally the coolest place on the planet. Circa hooked us up and gave us a good deal on a cabana, so that was a lot of fun. Nice. And then, I remember Friday before dinner, I took a nap at the pool, and 2 people checked on me because apparently I looked dead or something. And I was like, guys, I'm just like sleeping. Like, what's the big deal? They weren't trying to throw me out or anything, but they were like, hey, is he okay?
Proof of life is always needed.
I'm fine.
Hey, I would imagine wellness checks are a regular occurrence in Las Vegas. Yeah. And then Saturday night, we were just hanging out on the street and everything, and I fell asleep in the room watching Rocky 3.
Oh, nice.
So that was a lot of fun.
Rocky. my
Oh yeah, it's the
favorite
best.
Rocky,
That's my favorite
Mr.
one too.
Mr.
Thank
T.
you.
Clever Lang, yo.
Yeah. And then yeah, by Sunday I was like, yeah, we need to leave. We just let's just
That's how
please get out
Vegas
of
works.
here.
No,
That's how
And-
Vegas
and-
works. It's
and,
a 3-night maximum.
Yeah, 3 nights, and we were out, and then there's only one story happened that we've all been sworn to secrecy on. It wasn't anything crazy bad or anything, but it was just like, yeah, this is gonna happen, and we're never gonna talk about it again. And
man.
so that
Brody,
was.
you
I
ever
thought
seen
that was.
the movie Very Bad Things? That's what I'm picturing with this story.
Oh
That's
my
what
god,
we'll talk
I
about.
see. That's how it was so long ago. I don't remember all the occurrences of.
Take a scan through that later, and then see if that.
I
matches
will.
up
I
with
will.
Studs'
It wasn't-
misbehavior.
It wasn't anything I did. But it was, and it wasn't anything like crazy or anything. But it was
Okay.
just, we probably shouldn't ever talk
say
about that again.
Okay.
And
all right.
yeah, and it was a great trip. And then we got back to O'Hare, and we had to sit on the damn runway for an hour because we got back too early, apparently. And I'm like, are you kidding me? There's not a single gate at O'Hare International Airport that they can't put us on right now.
You just activate the slide and you get off. That's what you do in those
I was
situations.
like,
You
I was
just
about to be like,
activate the slide and get off.
I was about to be like, get me off of this plane. I want to go home.
Yeah.
So
well,
so it was a
we're
lot
glad
of
to
fun.
have you back. We're glad to have you back in one piece. And when's the wedding? It's not like next
So-
week, is it, or something?
No. The wedding is September 13th. So
Okay. All right.
it is the next day. That's a Saturday. The next day, the Bears and the Lions play at noon. So I've told people, including my fiance, you have my undivided attention from Thursday night until noon on Sunday. And then for 3 hours, I am checked out. Okay.
Gonna get off on a great foot this marriage.
No, she knows. She knows. She
Yeah.
knows. Well, it's the day after the wedding. We're not gonna be doing anything, so we're staying at the hotel an extra night. But yeah,
Gentlemen, unless
Yeah.
there are any objections, I am ready to end my workday. Are you guys? Is there
Yeah.
anything else? Anything else, Mr. Wiederer? Any other?
Hey,
nugget?
listen, I will see you
from in the
bright and
hall?
early on Tuesday morning. We always have the breakfast and sunrise with Ben Johnson here on the day.
Yes,
so he talks.
it's
So he's
it's
got a lot
lovely.
to fill us in on Tuesday. So you get your beauty rest and you get back out here with full energy.
Sounds good, man. That is Dan Wiederer for Mr. Wiederer of the Chicago Tribune for Adam Studzinski. I'm Mark Grote, thanking you for listening to and watching the Take the North podcast.
Great talk. See you out there.